Welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I'm your host, Jeannie Hall, and this podcast is all about our individual spiritual journeys. I discuss a mix of personal development, personal growth, psychology, and spirituality to help you live the life of your dreams. Let's transform our lives together. Join me. Hello, and welcome to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. This is episode 55, Manifesting 101. So as a co-creator with the universe, I believe we are all manifesting certain feelings and outcomes in our lives. And I think the reason this feels so true to me is because the thought of being in control of my life rather than just being its victim is a much more empowered perspective. It feels a lot better to me. So think of it this way. We can either go through life blaming our outside circumstances, or we can take control and live the life that we want. And this is how blaming our outside circumstances would sound. I'm going to give 3 examples. Even though I haven't been with my ex in years, they screwed up my credit, so that's why I don't have any money now. Or, my coworkers keep bringing these donuts to work, so it's their fault that I can't lose weight. Or, my boss is someone who plays favorites, and she doesn't like me, so why should I try for that promotion when I know I'll never get it? Okay. Now, granted, I may have exaggerated some of these, but maybe not. The examples I just mentioned are things we tell ourselves sometimes when things go wrong in our lives. And we do that because we think it'll make us feel better, and maybe in the short term it does. And we do that because it also becomes a habit. Everyone around us, or a lot of people around us, a lot of the time complain. And it's just a really easy thing to mirror back to someone else. And it's a really easy thing to get into the habit of doing. But let's take a closer look at each one of these examples and see what we're really dealing with. So the first example was, even though I haven't been with my ex in years, they screwed up my credit, so that's why I don't have any money now. So this is a financial issue. And let's say that you really did have an ex that ruined your credit score. I mean, that does happen, especially in divorces. And I understand that really does suck for real, and you have every right to feel however you want to feel about it. Angry, upset, or whatever. But here's the thing. At a certain point, and in this example specifically, the ex has been gone for years. So being angry and upset about this past event at this point is no longer serving you. What good does it do you to feel this way now? Is it bringing you more money? Is it improving your credit score? By focusing on this negative event in this way, this person is choosing to stay trapped in their no money situation, even though they probably don't realize it. On a conscious level, none of us want to be victims, and none of us want to feel victimized. But when we blame something that happened years ago for a result that we're manifesting today, well, what we're doing is making ourselves into victims unnecessarily. I mean, think about how it feels to blame someone else for something in our lives. And I mean, it might at first feel really good to say, my damn ex ruined my credit, son of a bitch, right? It feels good to cuss them, right? It feels good to feel angry in the moment, especially when it first happens and it's fresh. And I totally get that. And you have every right to express that and to get it out of your system. But after a while, that blame really analyze it. Years later, if that's still what's happening, think about how that would feel in your body. You had this ex that did you wrong, right? They did. I mean, they totally did. They are at fault for their actions. But how you feel is up to you. So how does feeling that way and saying and complaining about something like that feel in your body? When you're blaming someone else for your problems, does it feel good? Does it make you feel light and loving and happy? So when you say, I have no money and it's somebody else's fault, what power do you have to change your money situation? None. If you've given all your power to someone else, to that ex, then you've given them the control. Why would you do that? Why would you want to give control of your money, your financial situation and well-being to someone else, especially an ex, right? You're probably not super fond of that person if they're your ex. And even if you've forgiven them and moved on, you still don't want to give them the power over your money and your finances. So how can we start to manifest what we want instead of what we don't want? And it's all about learning how to take your power back. So instead of blaming an ex or something outside of you for your financial issues, take a look at what you yourself can do to change it. Can you go and apply for a job? Or if you already have a job, can you think of another way to make some money or to improve your credit score, whatever part of it you want to focus on? And don't get me wrong, guys. I get this one. Money is a big one for me personally, so I totally understand where you're coming from. It is a tough one to get past. I've had issues, so please don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that this is snap your fingers and all your money issues are gone. If that was the case, then we wouldn't have a lot of people who feel like they can't get money. We wouldn't have poverty. We wouldn't have a lot of issues if this was an easy problem to solve. But there is a way to solve it. And the key to solving it and fixing it is with you. You have to be willing to believe that you deserve money and that you deserve to not struggle and that you deserve the best of credit scores, right? Anything that has to do with financial stuff, you have to believe that you're worthy of it and you deserve good things out of that. So let's look at your own beliefs around money. Do you have a basic core belief that money is hard to get? Do you believe that rich people are bad or that they got their money through nefarious means? Do you believe that money doesn't grow on trees? Maybe you were taught that growing up. And by the way, at one time, I believed every one of those. Yeah, money problems. Yep, that's exactly what I manifested too. Because I didn't believe that money was good. I was taught that money, not only does it grow on trees, I was taught also, and I'm sure you've heard this too, that money is the root of all evil. If you truly believe that, how are you going to bring it into your life? You're not. You can't say money is the root of all evil and believe that and then have money. You are blocking it. That is what is happening. Any time that you at your core believe that something is wrong or evil, and then you're trying to live a life from a positive place and a place of love, the first thing you're going to block is anything you think is bad. So if you think money is bad and evil, especially the root of all evil, trust me, you're not letting any money into your life. You're just not. because you think it's bad. But here's the thing. Our beliefs are our choice. We get to choose what we think and what we believe. And what we believe is just a thought that's in our head that we repeat over and over and over again. And the reason those core beliefs are so hard to sometimes even identify, but even once we've identified what our core beliefs are about something that's blocking us, that's why it takes a while to change it, because most of those beliefs were formed in our infancy, in our childhoods, when we were very little. And when our brains were like little sponges and we just soaked it up without question because we didn't know to question it. And it's not that we were taught that by, evil people that were trying to hurt us. Most of the time we were taught that by people who were raising us, people who loved us, but they believed it, so they taught it to us. It was accidental. It wasn't intentional in their harm, but by teaching us those beliefs, we now have to work to change them, to bring that good into our lives again. So let's look at these beliefs again. Is money really hard to get? If you're thinking in your mind the word yes, then you have some work to do on your beliefs. And I get that this can be a challenge, okay? But this is something you can do. Brainstorm some ways that people can get money. Okay, obviously there's paychecks from jobs, and that's the way many of us do it. But that's not the only way by a long stretch. There's lots of other ways. You can get money by selling something. You can get money by getting a loan. You can get money by receiving a gift. You can get money by providing any service or any product. You can get money by providing something of value. It can be anything of value. It can be giving your time. It can be providing something that someone else needs. It can be winning something in a contest or in a lottery. And it can mean just asking for it, whether that's going to a person and asking for it, which I realize most of us don't feel comfortable with, or if it's asking the universe for it. You can receive it in any and all of those ways. Money doesn't only have to come through a job that you went and got and that you may not even like. There's lots of ways to get money. And if you brainstorm doing something you love and then seeing if there's a way you can then turn that into an income, you're on your way. You're exactly on your way. But also you can manifest it just by asking and then not blocking it. So a lot of the surrounding beliefs that we have about money being hard to get, when you really boil it down, it's not about money is actually literally hard to get. I mean, hell, think about how often you see change or even paper money on the sidewalk or street, right? How many of us really think hard about giving away $1? $1, $1, right? If you live in America, it's $1. So most of us don't even blink twice whenever if something costs $1. $1's nothing, right? We don't even think about it. And we think even less about seeing a penny or a dime or a quarter or a nickel on the ground or in the sidewalk or what. Most of us don't pick it up. We don't even think of it as really having that much value. We have money like that. If you're a woman, you have it in the bottom of your purse. If you're a dude, you probably have it in the floorboards or under your recliner at home, right? We all have money just hanging around us. So if it was really all that hard to get, we wouldn't have any of it ever, right? Think about how much change and just like $1 that you might have just seen laying out and in the open. And think about, granted, when you see 1 penny, it's no big deal, but think about how often you've seen that throughout your life. In your entire lifetime, think of all the times that you have just seen change laying on the ground or on the sidewalk or in the street. If you added all of that up, or how many times you've given $1 without even giving it a second thought, that's actually quite a bit of money. And when you sum it up, when you give it a total, that's a pretty decent amount of money. So it's not that money is hard to come by. It's really not. It's your belief about it. What our belief tends to be, and what blocks money from so many of us, is that we really don't believe we're worthy of it deep down. We've been taught, maybe through a belief system or a religion or a church or just society or our families or whatever, that money is something you have to earn and that you have to deserve it, and that if you're not getting it, you're being punished in some way. A lot of us have weird stuff around money and weird stuff around what we deserve and what we've earned and what we're being punished over, and all sorts of weirdness about that. But you can change that. You can become empowered in your beliefs and empowered in your life overall, which will give you your ability back to manifest what you want in your life. So if your deepest thought is, I'm not worthy of money, you can change it to, I am worthy of money. Now, if that rings false, that's not going to work for you. You're not going to be able to change it that radically. Sometimes you can do a polar opposite belief change and just change it and you're good to go. But a lot of us, we don't believe that one. It feels like a lie. So if it feels like a lie, you're not going to be able to use that. So change it to something that rings true. That's kind of in the middle. So try, money is good and so am I. Because that's true. But it needs to feel true to you. So if that one doesn't work, try this one. Or I can figure out a fun way to make money. Or a good way to make money. Or I can figure out something that I like to do that makes money. However you want to phrase it, whatever works for you, that's what you want to stick with. And then that's what you want to say to yourself over and over and over and over. That's the thought you want to keep in your head and remind yourself of it. So every time you think of money and you feel icky inside, right? Oh, money's hard. Oh, money, right? I don't have any money. If that's the thought that hits your head every time you think about money, then you want to change it to that good thought that you just changed it to. So, it's okay though, because I can figure out a fun way to get it. I can give so much value by doing this for someone and getting money for it. I'm smart. I can figure this out, right? Or money's good and so am I, so it's automatically going to come to me. I'm going to figure this out. Whatever phrase it is that you can change around money into something you can easily believe, that's what you change it to. And you work your way forward from there. Now, I understand that changing your deepest beliefs can take time, not because the universe takes time, not because money isn't flowing around all of us all the time and we're just blocking it, not that the universe has anything to do with us not getting our money. We block it because of our beliefs. But the rewards of empowerment and manifesting what you want are more than worth the time that you invest and the patience you give it. So let's take a look now at our second example. My coworkers keep bringing donuts to work, so it's their fault I can't lose any weight, right? I've also used the example, I had these pregnancies a few years ago and because of my kids, I got overweight and I can't lose it now because of then I gained weight with the pregnancy, so now I can't lose it. That's another example. A lot of people blame it on, a lot of us women will blame it on, I was pregnant and I gained weight with the pregnancies, which is good and healthy. But then if you didn't lose it and it's years later and you're still struggling with your weight, that's no longer the cause, right? It can't be. And you have to look at that, because what you do when you do that is you're turning yourself into a victim. Oh, these mean co-workers bringing donuts, it's all their fault, right? You're turning yourself into a victim. Why would you do that, right? You're taking all your power away and you're giving it to someone else purposely, right? Why would you do that? But a lot of the time we don't realize that's what we're doing. If you blame someone else for your weight, you're taking the ball out of your court and putting it in theirs. And it doesn't need to be in theirs. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have every right to enjoy eating donuts, because you do. And maybe for you personally, they're a huge temptation, and I get that. But acting on your temptations is a choice. And when you realize that, it makes you feel much more empowered. Because most of the time, when we do something that isn't actually serving us, it's because we're avoiding dealing with something we don't like. So, let me use myself as an example. In my case, I used food to keep from feeling negative emotions, and sometimes even emotion in general. Because I'm actually a very sensitive person. I cry easily. I used to describe myself as an emotional basket case. And so I would go to extremes sometimes to not feel those emotions. And what I was doing is something that some coaches call buffering. But basically what I was doing, I was eating instead of feeling what I actually was feeling. And a lot of us do this with a lot of different things, and I've mentioned that before. So me personally, I used to eat when I was stressed, or if I was depressed, or when I was bored. But I also ate to celebrate everything and to feel good. And I looked to food to provide me with joy. And problem with that, it's not that in and of itself is a horrible thing, but if that's your main source of joy, you're probably listening to this and you're overweight. If your main source of joy is food, you're probably listening to this and you're probably sitting there going, yep, that's why I weigh this much. Because you've put all the pressure on food to provide you with the joy that you can give yourself at any time with different choices. I'm not saying it's easy. Don't get me wrong. I know it's hard, right? I'm someone who, as I've mentioned before, I used to weigh 233 pounds at 5'7". I've now lost 50 pounds. I know how hard it is. But I also know that the solution is changing getting your joy from food to getting it from life and from other decisions that you make. So personally, when a coworker used to bring donuts to work, I can talk from personal experience on this one. I'd be all over those bad boys. I would be all over those donuts. But here's the thing. I would only eat one. So when the donuts first came and we were all in the break room before the store opened or whatever, I would go get a donut, and everybody did, right? We all got a donut. But then when no one was in the break room, I'd sneak back and get one or two more. Yeah. That was me kind of sneaking in and grabbing another donut, right? But I was hiding it because I felt guilty for getting it. I knew I didn't really need those donuts. And deep down, I didn't even really want them. But I thought I did. The fact that I was hiding and sneaking around to get the donuts and eating them by myself where no one could see me, oh, that's a big red flag. It really is. It shows how ashamed I was of getting more. And back then, at that time in my life, I felt completely out of control when it came down to food, especially sweets like donuts. That was my big downfall. Because I felt like in the presence of those kinds of foods, I felt like I couldn't say no. And I felt like shit because of it. That's why I was a size 3X. And worst of all, I hated myself. I hated my body. I hated the way I looked. I hated pictures of me. Yeah. So, are any of you out there nodding your heads? Does this resonate with any of you? It wasn't until I received a diabetes diagnosis that I actually woke up, because it made me realize that I was killing myself in tiny little increments. And I wasn't doing it consciously. I was not setting out to harm myself, not at all. I was not suicidal, but I was still killing myself bit by bit by bit. And so what that diagnosis did was it forced me to really look at myself and ask myself what I really wanted. And I asked myself if I wanted to live. And the answer was a resounding yes, of course. And then I asked myself if I wanted to be healthier. And again, the answer was yes, of course. And so what I started to do, and that was very emotional for me, by the way. I was a bawling mess at that time. It's hard to look at the hard truths of your life and realize that the person who put you in that position was you. But as hard as that is, and as much as I cried about it at the time, it also gave me back my power. It gave me the solution I needed. And it gave me the realization that I was the one in control of my life and my weight. No one else. No one but me. So when you realize that for you, you'll be able to take the reins back and be back in control of you too. So that is when I started to research what I needed to do to change my body back into what it used to be, which was healthy. And I found out that the most crucial component to positive change is to love yourself. And yes, I realize some of you may be cringing as I say that. But if you're really honest with yourself, I think you also know that it's true. Because if you don't like yourself or you hate yourself like I used to, you will sabotage yourself from manifesting anything good in your life, whether it's health and weight, like it was with me, whether it's money, also me, whether it's a career change, a job change, whatever, a relationship, kids, whatever it is that you want, a house, a car, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you hate yourself or you don't like yourself, you will be guaranteed to block it from your life. Because what you're doing is you're giving the universe a brick wall. Every time it tries to send you something good, you're blocking it. Or at least in certain aspects of your life. Because what happens is then you'll tell yourself that self-sabotage is this like little insidious thing that creeps into the back of your brain. And you'll tell yourself, it's too hard, I can't do it. Can't lose weight, I can't get money, I can't get promoted in my career, whatever it is, I can't, it's too hard. I can't find a person to date because there's just no good people out there. There's billions of people on this planet and you think there's nobody good out there? You know better deep down. But you also might tell yourself that other people can do it. Other people can make millions, but I can't. Other people can lose 50 pounds, but I can't. And you'll tell yourself all these lies. And they are lies. Don't do that to yourself. Because if you do, nothing will ever change for the better. And you deserve everything. You deserve every good thing in this life, especially love. But the first person who's going to have to give it to you isn't a mate or a spouse or a girlfriend or boyfriend or even a mom or a dad or a child or anybody else. The first person who has to give you that love is you. Or you're going to block it from everybody else. You're the first one who counts. So if you don't give it to yourself first, you're going to have a hard time getting it. And if you're overweight, you're going to have to learn to love your body exactly as it is. And I realize this is hard. As someone who used to look down and see a giant belly and flabby arms and thighs that stick together and a big full face, that's just how my body collects weight, extra weight. Everybody's different. Maybe it's your ankles or wrists or fingers or toes. I even lost weight in my fingers. My ring's too loose now. You have to look at all those aspects of your body and you have to love them anyway. You have to look at that round, floppy sagginess that may be happening. You have to look at every mole and scar and blemish, every pimple, every stretch mark. And you have to say, I love you. And you have to really mean it. And that is how you start to change things for your body and for every other part of yourself, every other part of your life. That's how you do it. It starts with that. And you're going to need to learn to love it, because once you love your body and yourself, everything will change for the better. But if you don't do that, you won't have the power you need to do what's best for your body and what's best for yourself. And the truth is, you already know what's best. When it comes to eating, you know how it feels in your body to eat good stuff that makes you feel energized and good. And you also know what it feels like to eat crap and feel bloated and disgusting afterwards. You already know what that feels like, but you may be ignoring it right now. Trust me, raising my hand, guilty. I totally did that for years, 2 decades, in fact. I am someone who can speak from experience on this. But you can choose to do the right thing by loving your body. And once you make that decision, really, the wait is as good as gone. Once you choose to love yourself and stop blocking money and stop telling yourself that money's hard to get and that money doesn't grow on trees, when you stop telling yourself that and you start telling yourself, I deserve money. I deserve every good thing. I love myself so damn much. I deserve every good thing, including money, including that body that I want, including that career or that business or that relationship or whatever. When you start doing that, it's a game changer. And it's as good as yours. It really is. You just have to believe it and hold out for it and be patient and wait on it. It will come if you keep it up. All right, the last example. My boss plays favorites and doesn't like me, so why should I try for that promotion when I know I'll never get it? Again, it's all about who's got the control. Who are you giving your control to? If you're giving it to this boss, then you don't have it. So this is what I want you to try to do. I want you to give up complaining and blaming your boss. And I know it's easy to complain about work, especially. Trust me, I'm someone who's done that my whole life. I get it. But it really can change your life at work and your life in every other aspect if you stop complaining about it and stop focusing on what you don't like about it. And I know it's really hard to not complain about a boss who's nasty. If you've got kind of a mean person as a boss, it's really hard. I get that. I am sympathetic. However, you still have your power, and your power is to focus on the positive and the good. That is what changes things for you. Your boss really has nothing to do with it. This is about you and how you react and how you focus on your life. And it's not for your boss's sake that you won't be complaining, it's for your own. Because when you start doing your best and you focus on that, you go home every day focused on the results you achieved rather than complaining about what happened. Right? This stupid thing that had happened, this broke down, and this customer yelled at me, and my boss yelled at me, and he's such an asshole, and blah, 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 whatever it is, right? Instead of focusing on that, you focus on, I finished this, and I did this, and I did this. Even when I didn't have to, I did it because I could, and I had the time, so I did. And I worked so hard today. And when I go home, I know I worked hard, and I did my very, very best, and that feels awesome. So focus on that. And really, even if no one else knows or even acknowledges your own awesomeness of what you did that day at work, you know it. That is your power. You know that you did your best. And the integrity that that gives you and the power that that gives you I'm speaking from experience on that one too. I just recently started doing that because I'm someone who still has a day job. And I started realizing that my day changed so drastically when I let go of complaining and focusing on what was falling apart at work and what was going wrong. And when I started focusing on, you know what, okay, so that happened, but you know what? I still did the best I could. I did this and I did this and I didn't stop and I kept going and I worked the whole day and I stayed late and I did this or whatever, right? I'm required to work this many hours and you know what? I did it and I did this while I was there. I did my very best. I didn't blow off any time. I wasn't goofing off. I wasn't playing around. I was working and I was giving 110% that whole time. And when I walked out of that store and felt kind of tired, it was a good exhaustion because I did my best. And it doesn't matter if anybody else noticed it or realized it or not. I know it. Because then your whole attitude changes. Because you're not working for that boss, you're working for you. And if you're someone like me and you're trying to work for you, you want to be self-employed, right? That's the goal. Or you want a different job that you feel like you're more worthy of you, maybe. Sending that out, being dedicated to yourself and to your work, what that does is that sends out such a positive vibration into the universe. And it will give you, when you're giving that and you're in this super high and happy state, anytime you do that, that guarantees that the universe is going to send that back to you tenfold or more. Talk about manifesting. So the more good and positive you can be at wherever you are. So if you're at a job and you hate it, or you really don't like it, or you feel like this is not where I'm supposed to be, if you can focus on what you like about it and do your job to the best of your ability, you can go home satisfied in the knowledge that you did your best. And you gave all you could. And not for the job's sake, and not for your boss's sake, and not for that corporation's sake, but for your own sake, because you're building up and banking positive energy. And that positive energy is going to come back to you tenfold or more, right? That's the law. That's how the universe works. That's the law of attraction. So, are you ready to start the real work of manifesting your dreams, whatever they may be? Let me help you manifest them. Set up a free coaching call. I've got a link in the description. I would love to work with you. And the first call is free. We'll get to know each other, see if we're a good fit, and then we'll work on making your dreams happen, baby. You betcha. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful, great manifestation today and this week and this month and this year. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Writing in Your Jammies podcast. I appreciate every download and every person who has subscribed. I release new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you enjoy this content, please consider leaving a review. Have a topic you'd like me to discuss or want to appear on this podcast? Contact me anytime at Jeannie@writinginyourjammies.com. Thanks again for listening.